Hello, everybody. This is Nancy. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm happy to be here. Today, we are continuing our study on Deuteronomy. We are actually going to start with today Deuteronomy chapters 4 and 5. Oh, I got to switch my angle a little bit because I've got the window. I'm being blinded by the light. um, Before I start with Deuteronomy chapters 4 and 5, I should have closed those blinds. Um, Let me see if I can move over just a little bit. There we go. There we go. That's a little bit better. I want to look at one psalm today, and that is Psalm 101. So I'm going to go there first. I thought the natural light would help, but it's obvious that it's not helping with the glare. So next time I'm going to have to test that ahead of time. All right. Psalms 101. Psalm 101, excuse me. I will sing. This is a Psalm of David, and it reads, I will sing of the mercy of the Lord. Excuse me, I'm going to start over. I will sing of mercy and judgment unto thee. O Lord, will I sing. I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way. O, when wilt thou come unto me? I will walk within my house with a perfect heart. I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. A forward heart shall depart from me. I will not know a wicked person. Whoso privately slandereth his neighbors, him will I cut off. Him that hath a high look and a proud heart will not I suffer. My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He that walks in a perfect way, he shall serve me. So at this point, this is probably King David after he became king. And he's talking, of course, the king of Israel. He's talking about who he would hire, who he would cut off. And I've said before that you could think of King David as representing the nation of Israel. Let's continue with verse 7. He that works deceit shall not dwell within my house. He that tells lies will not tarry in my sight or be in my sight. I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all the wicked doers from the city of the Lord. And oftentimes the city of the Lord is referred to as Jerusalem. Today we're going to look at Deuteronomy 4 and 5. The first 5 books of the Bible are written by Moses. And today we're studying the last book, continuing to study the last book that Moses wrote, which is Deuteronomy. This represents the Pentateuch, or the Torah as it's also called. We're picking up today with Deuteronomy chapter 4. So I read that psalm because God told the Israelites, or the children of Israel, that they would inherit Canaan, but that there were giants or enemies in the land, and they had to destroy those giants in order to possess the land. So that's what King David was talking about in that Psalm 101. And there were other lands that they had to dominate or possess, even when King David was in rule. So King David was, or during his reign, King David was the second king of Israel. King Saul was the first king. But honestly, God did not want them to have any natural kings. He wanted to be their king. And the children of Israel continued to reject God as king. So he eventually gave them what they wanted, and he gave them a natural king. I will get to that verse at another time. Before I start on Deuteronomy 4, I wanted to talk about the verse that talks about the angels having sex with some mortal or human women. Because I did tell you I was going to give you that verse the last time that we were on. You can find that in Genesis 6:2, where it says that the sons of God, which is also referred to as angels. Here it's not saying son of God, the S is lowercase. It says sons of God saw the daughters of men, they were fair, and they took them wives, all of them which they chose rather. That's how the giants in the earth were created. Okay, let's pick up at Deuteronomy chapter 4 now. This is a lengthy chapter, so just put on your seatbelt, get ready for my little journey today. I got to get this even. This is just driving me up a wall. All right, that's a little bit better. I was starting to look, the camera was looking sideways, so I had to fix that. Okay. Now, therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto the judgments which I teach you, for to do them that you may live and go in and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers gives you. Right now, I'm reading from the King James Version. I'm almost always reading from the King James Version Bible unless I tell you otherwise. Even if I'm reading passages from the Date Bible, that's still based on the King James Bible. It's just the date part is the reference part of the Bible, but it's based on King James as well. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you. Your eyes have seen what the Lord did because of Baal Peor, and all the men that followed Baal Peor. The Lord thy God hath destroyed them from among you. Well, these people are children of Baal. Baal was an idol in the Old Testament. We see Baal all throughout the Old Testament. I'm not sure if Baal Peor is a person or not, but Baal pretty much represents money or mammon, as they called it then. Verse 4, but you did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, but ye that did cleave unto the Lord your God are alive, every one of you this day. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commands you, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what nation is there so great who has God so nigh unto them as the Lord your God is in all things that we call upon him for? And all nations is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law which I set before you this day. Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life, but teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons, especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb, when the Lord said unto me, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words, that they may learn to fear me all the days that they shall live upon the earth, and that they may teach their children. And you came near and stood under the mountain, and the mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness. And the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. Ye heard the voice of the words, but saw no similitude, only ye heard a voice. So this is Moses still speaking, and he's once again. I told you a lot of times in the Old Testament they use oral tradition, oral history, much like in African, oral traditions that were passed down, and American Indian. I'm sure other countries or nations as well. They pass stories down, legends, myths, all via storytelling, which is like a lost art now. But they pass these stories down through storytelling. So this is Moses. He's telling probably this next generation about what he did with the land in the land of Egypt. Remember, 40 years have gone by. So let me go back to, and the Lord spake unto you out of the midst of the fire. You heard the voice of the words, but you saw no similitude, only you heard a voice. And he declared unto you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments, and he wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. God gave Moses the 10 commandments. He wrote them on tables of stone. Verse 14, And the Lord commanded me at that time, this is Moses talking, to teach you statutes and judgments that you might do them in the land whither you go to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on that day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire. So I looked at the word up Horeb because I'm like, this isn't Mount Sinai. What is Horeb? So Horeb and Mount Sinai are used in simultaneously. They are the same place. Lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, any likeness of male or female. That graven image is an idol, which is one of God's 10 commandments. Do not make any image before me. We'll read about that more in chapter 5. The likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven should be driven to worship and serve them, which the Lord thy God has divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But the Lord has taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as you are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and swear not that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land which the Lord thy God gives you for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but you shall go over and possess that good land. Take heed unto yourselves, lest ye forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make you a graven image or the likeness of anything which the Lord thy God has forbidden thee. For the Lord thy God is a consuming fire, even a jealous God, which thou, when thou shalt beget or have children and children's children, and you shall have remained long in the land, and shall corrupt yourselves and make a graven image or the likeness of anything, and shall do evil in the sight of the Lord thy God to provoke him to anger. I call you this day that you shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto you go over Jordan to possess it. Ye shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and he shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord will lead you. So this is Moses commanding the children of Israel. He's giving them specific commandments about them not putting any other God before the Lord their God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he's prophesying. Remember, Moses was also a prophet. He's prophesying they are going to worship graven images. Moses is telling them that part of their people are going to be destroyed. He's not going to prolong their days because of that. He's saying that there is going to be a Jewish diaspora, which is exactly what happened. He said in verse 27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen or unbeliever or Gentile, whither the Lord shall lead you. And there you will serve gods, lowercase, to your idols, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see. So God said, instead of you continuing to worship me, you got your eyes and focus off of me. You started to worship images or idols made with a man's hands, not God's hands, but man's hands. And I've always asked, how can you worship something or someone that's greater, that's less than the creator, the one that made the wood and the stone? You're worshiping something made out of wood or stone that God created. He created those materials instead of God, the creator of the materials. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul. When you are in tribulation and all these things are come upon you, even in the latter days, which are the days we're living in now, if you turn to the Lord your God and shall be obedient unto his voice, For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not forsake you, neither destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For ask now of the days that are past, um, which were before thee, since the day that God created man upon the earth, and ask from the one side of heaven unto the other, whether there shall be, whether hath been any such thing as this great thing is, or hath been heard like it. I get stuck sometimes on the Elizabethan English too. Did ever people hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as thou hast heard and lived? Or has God essayed to go and take him a nation from the midst of another nation by temptations, by signs and by wonders, and by war, and by a mighty hand, or by a stretched out arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes, until you show it unto thee mightest know that the Lord, he is God, and there is none else beside him. Out of heaven he made thee to hear his voice, that he might instruct thee, and upon earth he showed thee his great fire, and thou heardest his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out of his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt, to drive out nations from before thee, greater and mightier than thou, to bring thee in, to give thee their land for an inheritance, as it is this day. Know therefore this day, and consider it in thine heart, that the Lord, he is God in heaven above, and upon the earth beneath, there is none else. Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, and that thou mayest prolong the days upon the earth, which the Lord thy God gives thee forever. Then Moses served 3 cities on the side of Jordan, this side of Jordan, toward the sun rising, that the slayer might flee thither, which shall kill his neighbor unawares, and hated him not in times past, and that fleeing unto one of these cities he might live, namely Bezer in the wilderness, in the plain country of the Reubenites, and Ramoth in Gilead of the Gadites, and Golan and Bashan of the Manassites. And this is the law which Moses set before the children of Israel. These are the testimonies and the statutes and the judgment take unto the children of Israel after they came forth out of Egypt. On this side, Jordan, in the valley over against Beth Peor, in the land of Shihon, the king of the Amorites. That's an enemy of Israel during the Old Testament times, who dwelt at Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel smote or killed after they were come forth out of Egypt. And they possessed his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites, another enemy of Israel, which were on this side of Jordan towards the sun rising, from Aroer, which is by the bank of the river Arnon, even unto Mount Sion, which is Hermon, and all the plain on this side Jordan eastward, even unto the sea of the plain under the springs of Pisgath. Okay, that was a lot. Let's move on to chapter 5. And Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak unto your ears this day, that you may learn them and keep and do them. So, verse 2, the Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. We see once again, back to the oral tradition, that Moses is again rehearsing the 10 commandments that God had already given him at Mount Sinai. This is right when they left Egypt. So now they're in Canaan, they're already in the promised land. So that's how we know that Moses is now going back and recording past history. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us who are all of us here alive this day, or they're about to enter the promised land, because remember, Moses said he's not going into the promised land or Canaan with the other Israelites, the younger generation. Verse 4, the Lord talked with you face to face in the mount out of the midst of the fire. I stood before the Lord I stood between the Lord and you at that time to show you the word of the Lord, for ye were afraid by reason of the 5, and were not up into the mount, saying, the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt not have none other gods before me. Here is the verse talking about graven images or idols. Verse 8, thou shalt not make thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself down unto them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. Verse 12, keep the Sabbath to sanctify it as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee. 6 days you will work or do labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine donkey, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. And remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God brought thee out thence through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore the Lord thy God commanded thee to keep the Sabbath holy. So now we get into we know that keeping the Sabbath holy, keeping it holy is a commandment. Um, Not having any graven images is a commandment. He's continuing with the 10 commandments here. Honor thy father and thy mother as the Lord thy God has commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God gives thee. So here we see the first commandment with promise that God promises to give us long life when we honor our father and our mother. Verse 17, thou shalt not kill. 18, thou shalt not commit adultery. 19, thou shalt not steal. 20, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. 21, neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is thy neighbor's. So basically, not coveting anything that belongs to someone else. We just want to be grateful for what God has blessed us with. Verse 22, these words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness, with a great voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it came to pass when you heard the voice out of the midst of the darkness, for the mountain did burn with fire, that you came near unto me, even all the heads of your tribes and your elders. And you said, behold, the Lord our God has showed us his glory and his greatness. And we have heard his voice out of the midst of the fire. We have seen this day that God does talk with man, and he lives. Now, therefore, why should we die? For this great fire will consume us. If we hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, then we shall die. For who is there of all flesh that have heard the voice of the living God speaking out of the fire as we have and lived? Go thou near and hear all that the Lord our God shall say, and speak thou unto us all that the Lord our God shall speak unto thee, and we will hear it and do it. There are scriptures that say that no one can bear to see God face to face in his true holiness. And we know that God is a spirit. So I say, like, hypothetically, because the Bible says he's made in man's image. A lot of people in verses say that they did see the face of God, that they were died. So they sent Moses. They said, you go, you talk to God yourself, and you come back and tell us what God said. So that's what they're saying here. Verse 28, and the Lord heard the voice of your words when he spake unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have spoken well. They have well said all that they have spoken. Oh, that there were such a heart in them that they would fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. Go say to them, get you out of your tents again. But as for thee, stand out here by me, and I will speak unto thee all the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which thou shalt teach them, that they may do them in the land which I will give them to possess. So once again, this is God talking to Moses. Verse 32, you shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God have commanded you. You will not turn to the right side or right hand or to the left. You will walk in all the ways which the Lord your God has commanded you, that you may live and that it may be well with you, and that your days and that you may prolong your days in the land which you will possess. So that is Deuteronomy chapter 5. So today we looked at Deuteronomy chapters 4 and 5. And so some of you might be saying, well, what does this have to do with me? I live under the dispensation of grace in the New Testament. This doesn't have anything to do with me. Well, actually, it does. And I'm going to prove to you why. So let's go to the New Testament. Um, and we're going to look at the new law that Jesus left with his disciples, which will be us as well. We're disciples of Jesus Christ too. I should have this memorized now, but just give me one moment to look it up in my handy dandy electronic concordance, which is my cell phone. So I'm looking this up right now. All right. So the new law is that we love the Lord our God with all of our heart and love our neighbor as ourselves. And that can be found in John, the Apostle of John, or Gospel of John here, chapter 13, verses 34 through 35. So I'm going to read that out loud. And it's in the red. So this is Jesus speaking. This is the hot sauce. And it says, a new commandment I give unto you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you love one another, that you also love one another. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another. And you say, well, yeah, but if I have love with my neighbor, that doesn't have anything to do with the 10 commandments. Well, it actually does. And here's why. If you love your neighbor as yourself, if you love the Lord your God with all your heart, and then you love your neighbor as yourself, you're actually going to honor your parents, your mother and father, no matter how you feel they did with their job as a parent. You're going to honor them anyway or respect them. You're not going to kill someone. And this is not talking about in war. This means taking someone's innocent life. So there is a difference between killing and murder and then defending a country or nation. That's not what it's talking about here. You're not going to commit adultery, which is you coveting someone else's spouse. You're not going to steal or take from someone or something that does not belong to you. You're not going to lie against your neighbor if you love them. And basically, it comes down to the golden rule: treat others the way that you want to be treated. You don't want somebody to just walk up to you with a gun pointed to your head and pull the trigger. You wouldn't want somebody to steal from you. You definitely don't want people lying on you and that's what bearing false witness means. Lies can be extremely damaging because somebody, no matter how ridiculous the lie is, somebody's going to believe it. Lies also create gossip. Once that gossip train starts, it can destroy people's lives. And what the sad thing about the whole thing is, people's lives can get destroyed over something that's not even true. So lives can be very dangerous. So the bottom line is, when we love our neighbor as ourselves and we love God with all of our heart, it basically comes down to worrying about taking care of yourself. I don't want to say worry, but taking care of yourself. Let God handle other people. We don't have to, ask God to rain down vengeance or, destroy our enemies. If anything, we should bless those that curse us. We should also, the Bible says, to give a gift to people that we know speak against us. And hopefully that will soften their hearts. I'm going to read you these verses because the way that we operate in the kingdom of God is very different from the way that the world system operates. The world system is an eye for an eye. If you take, that's how a lot of gangs are created. If you take the person out of my group or my clan, I'm going to take somebody out of your group or your clan. And nothing ever gets resolved like that. So um, we have to, in order for us to create peace and not war and chaos, in our lives or throughout the world, we actually have to follow the commandments that God laid out for us. Not only God, but even other Eastern religions believed in this. This is where the nonviolence movement came from. Gandhi believed in this. um, I'm trying to think of the South African president. He followed a lot of what Gandhi believed with the nonviolence movement. um, This is, oh, that's not the verse I wanted. Let me give you the one because some of you guys, if I don't show it to you in scripture, you don't believe what I'm saying. So bless those that curse you. Let me give that to you next. Once again, thanks to my concordance, this is a lifesaver. Okay, Luke 6:28. Okay, and it says, this is Jesus speaking again. If you have a red letter edition, this is in red, or this is the hot sauce, and it says, but I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. Um, Verse 29, and unto him that smiteth thee on the one cheek, offer also the other, and him that takes away the cloak, forbid not to take the coat also. Give to every man that ask of you, and of him that takes away thy goods, ask them not again. And as you would that men should do to you, do you also to them likewise. So that basically is the golden rule. Will do unto others as you want them to, not as they do to you, as you desire would want them to do to you. That is Luke 6, and I read verses 27 through, let me see, what did I read up to? Verse 31. All right, so that is my lesson today. Hopefully, I wasn't too much all over the place. I hope you all enjoyed the lesson. Be sure to join me again on Tuesday evening. We do have a guest speaker, so next Thursday I'll be continuing my study on the book of Deuteronomy. I hope you're enjoying this journey as much as I am. I look forward to seeing you the next time on the podcast. Until then, have a blessed week, whether you study and whether you worship on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day is your Sabbath. Make sure that you honor God during the Sabbath and keep it holy. And um, remember that every day is a Sabbath. God bless you, everybody. See you next time. Bye bye.